was just being a dipshit, doing deadlifts that were way too heavy for me, trying to just be machismo and let my ego take over. I had just hit a really clean 405 deadlift and was feeling super pumped up. And I went right to throwing 25s on each side. So that made it 455, which was way, way too aggressive of a jump. I got the bar a couple inches off the floor and felt a pop in my low back. And sure enough, that was the initial impetus to what had probably been already some mildly bulging disc. Now I was down and out with some pretty severe low back issues. I've done a lot of dumb stuff in the gym. I'm 46 years old. That none of that is an excuse, but it's simply the reality of, listen, we're only human. We're not robots. Like, this stuff happens. Ultimately, as the years have progressed, not doing the things in terms of like mobility and flexibility and perhaps training too hard or training through injuries, just all of those things that have contributed to the slow degeneration to the point where it was just the last straw and things just started to get bad. You know, it is so debilitating. It's so humbling. And when you're in pain like that, you can't function. Welcome back to the Smart Nutrition Made Simple show. I'm your host, as always, Ben Brown, owner and head coach here at Body Systems, where we help hard-charging men and a few badass women build unshakable confidence and limitless self-belief through our Prime Fit OS coaching process. Now, today's a solo episode, and honestly, it's a bit of a personal one. You see, last week I was literally working from bed with 3 bulging discs in my low back. I couldn't sit or certainly couldn't drive, and it was humbling to say the least. Now, as a trainer and strength coach, part of me felt embarrassed to admit it, but when I shared what I was going through, the outpouring of support from clients and friends and even other coaches was massive. And it reminded me how many of us are quietly dealing with pain and how powerful it is to be transparent about the path forward. And so in this episode, I'll walk you through what the MRI showed, why conflicting advice can be so confusing around your health and fitness, how I'm choosing my next steps from short-term pain reduction to the regenerative options down the road, and how I'm using some of the same principles that we coach inside our Prime Fit OS program around leveraging function over ego, consistency over intensity, and certainly longevity over quick fixes. And so if you've ever felt sidelined by pain, or you just needed a plan to pivot around, then I think this episode is going to be perfect for you. Let's go ahead and dive in. What is going on, my friends? I was down and out for the count for the most part last week with some pretty severe low back issues. And so, well, in all fairness, I was working, but I was basically working from a horizontal position in bed. And I couldn't sit, I couldn't drive. I was either flat horizontal or straight up vertical standing, but man, the in-between of those two was brutal and was really dealing with some excruciating pain around some bulging discs that I've since diagnosed. I had an MRI report, and frankly, I just got back this morning from meeting with a spinal specialist and going through and having him like review the imaging with me, which was really, really fascinating to hear his interpretation of the kind of MRI report and actually show me in the imaging like what's going on from an MRI standpoint. And kind of I'll talk through that just a little bit in this episode. But truthfully, I felt like it was relevant to be able to share kind of what's been going on here, because I've had so many people reach out, so many people offering support, so much sympathy, which I'm extremely grateful for. I'm also, very humbled at all of this. And frankly, part of me was really embarrassed to have this happen to me, because I pride myself on being someone who is in such great shape physically. And kind of part of me is like, how could this happen to me when I'm setting the example for everyone else of like how to live and breathe health and blah, blah, blah. When in reality, like shit happens. And I played competitive rugby for a long time. I've done a lot of dumb stuff in the gym. I'm 46 years old. That none of that is an excuse, but it's simply the reality of listen, we're only human. Also, we're not robots. We're not, flawless beings. Like this stuff happens. And so, really, just embracing that and using this as a learning opportunity to hopefully be able to share part of this with you so that I can now empathize with my clientele when they're going through these types of things. And hopefully we all can learn and kind of grow together through this experience. But yeah, so like I said, this didn't just come on. This is something I've kind of been dealing with for the past 10 years or so. There definitely was a point, like probably 10 years ago, maybe 11 or 12 years ago in the gym where I was just being a dipshit doing deadlifts that were way too heavy for me, trying to just be machismo and let my ego take over. And I believe I had just kind of hit like a 405 deadlift, like a really clean 405 deadlift, and was feeling super pumped up. And I think I went right to throwing 25s on each side. So that made it, 455, which was way, way too aggressive of a jump. And, I got the bar a couple inches off the floor and felt a like pop in my low back. And sure enough, I think that was the initial impetus and certainly the acute trauma to contribute to what had probably been already some mildly bulging discs. But that was the first time like things really got bad and, proceeded to be flat on my back for a couple days. But man, nothing was like this past week. I'm telling you guys, if you've had back pain, then it is so debilitating. It's so humbling. And when you're in pain like that, like you can't function. And I felt so bad for my family too, because I was just in the worst mood. I was in so much pain. I couldn't work really. And I just couldn't think. I couldn't think straight. It just was the constant pain that was going through my mind of trying to figure out what I need to do to get out of pain. And so as I reflect back, again, fortunately now, several days later, like I've been doing a number of different exercises and things just, every day is getting a little bit better and a little bit better. And I'm kind of trying to figure out what my kind of action steps are going to be from a treatment standpoint. And what I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to do a epidural cortisone injection. And much of this has challenged my belief system around conventional medicine. And again, when you're in pain, it's like I will literally do anything to get out of this pain. If I need to have surgery, if I need to get an epidural and get cortisone, a steroid, then I will do that. Of course, there's natural therapies. And one of the things that I had to navigate over the past couple of weeks as I've had people reaching out is one, just the appreciation for the number of amazing practitioners that I have in my network. But with that, everyone knows what they're doing, right? And truthfully, it's like so many of the people who reached out are amazing world-class clinicians whom I've had the opportunity to connect with over the years. But with that said, I had so many cooks in the kitchen and I had, chiropractors and I had physical therapists and I had naturopathic doctors and I had surgeons and you name it, osteopaths, acupuncturists, all kinds of newfangled treatment options and regenerative medicine therapies. And it was like, I was telling my wife, Christina, I was like, I don't know where to go. So I have all of these people whom I know, like, and trust in my corner that want to help me. And I have so many options at my disposal and I don't know which way to turn. And so I've had to kind of navigate through and really just figure out like what makes the most sense for me, for where I'm at, for what I want to do, how quickly I want to do it, what I envision as my long-term road to recovery, what I want to be capable of doing at what level, and how those treatments, to say nothing of the expense of all of these things as well. And so it's been challenging, to say nothing of like the pain and just, being able to move, but it's also been challenging just to figure out like what makes the most sense. And I can imagine from an individual standpoint who doesn't know a lot about this type of stuff, and you're just indoctrinated. Maybe that's how people feel when they're trying to lose weight. Maybe that's how people feel when they have different sort of joint maladies, and they're getting all of this feedback from all kinds of different people whom they want to be able to trust. It's hard to know what decisions to make. And so here I am just kind of acknowledging that, like, listen, I'm literally a trained professional. I've studied spinal pathology, and I understand the pathology of disc degeneration and bulging and herniated discs. And I know, quote unquote, know what to do. But even so, it's still really confusing and challenging sphere, especially when you're the one dealing with it. And so that's where I just want to be able to share this, shared struggle. It's like, I get you. I'm sure you get me. And I want you guys to know, if you're listening to this, what's been really interesting is how many practitioners, just strength coaches, personal trainers, nutritionists, online coaches, like, this is my sphere. How many coaches have reached out and sympathized? Like, dude, I'm going through the same thing. I've dealt with back pain. I've just had surgery. I just had a discectomy. I'm looking at getting this procedure done. And these are people that, like, again, you look at their Instagram profiles, they are shredded and healthy and fit and blah, blah, blah. And I say all of this just to reinforce is like, we are all on the same boat here. There's no such thing as perfection. There's no one who has it together to the degree that we are led to believe just through the way that social media is. And I'm not suggesting that people are lying about their lifestyles, where sure, I do think people are, but genuinely, I think just the nature of social media is like, it's our highlight reel, So when you're looking and scrolling through, you're like, gosh, I wish I could look like that guy, or he must have it all together, or she must have it all together, or God, he looks like he's so successful. Man, I can tell you from experience and knowing a lot of these quote unquote influencers, like, we're all struggling with stuff. We've all got these issues. And so I say that just to encourage you, if you're feeling like that's the case for you, of like, you need to get better before you engage. You need to, it's like the adage around the person who says, I need to get in shape before I hire the personal trainer. Or like, I just need to get more consistent before I hire the coach. Or I have clients or prospective clients be like, I just got to figure some stuff out on my own, and then I'll engage in your services. And all of it's, again, just to say, it's like, no one has their shit together to the degree that you think. And you're not as far away from having things together as you think, right? You're not as far away from the steps and skills and behaviors and tools that you need to employ to truly move the needle as you think you are. I can guarantee that. And you're not as far gone as you think you are. I can guarantee that. And you're, at the end of the day, you're not alone either. And so for me, it's been the process of like, all right, like, just evaluating things like, how did I get here? What am I doing to move the needle forward? And I can fully acknowledge, and you guys know me, I'm one of 100% complete ownership here. Like, I've done a lot of dumb stuff, including those deadlifts when I was younger and pushing it. And then ultimately, as the years have progressed, not doing the things in terms of like mobility and flexibility, and perhaps training too hard or training through injuries, or just all of those types of things that I think have contributed to this slow build, this slow degeneration, to the point where it was just kind of like the last straw, and things just started to get bad over the past few weeks, to the point where, like I said, I found myself flat on my back last week, and now I have to peel the layers of the onion back to figure out what this road back's going to look like, because I really do just want to jump back in the gym and start grinding away. And I know that would be a recipe for disaster. So my considerations are, first and foremost, getting the inflammation down, likely through what's going to be a steroid epidural. So like a cortisone shot into the discs of my low back. There's a couple, 3 discs that have a small bulge, that because of the bulge, there's this, essentially what happens is you get tearing of the annula. That's the outer, if you think about it, the discs are kind of like jelly donuts. And inside the donut, right, we have kind of this jelly center filling. That's the what's called the nucleus of the disc. That's the disc itself, or the fluid component of the disc. And then you have this annular circle. That's kind of the doughy portion of the donut. And the annula or annulus is kind of this fibrous structure of these 45-degree angled kind of fibers that give it this matrix, like this solid matrix structure that's able to handle a whole heck of a lot of force. But the annula, specifically the outer portion, can basically degrade and degenerate over time with age, with obviously traumatic injury and stuff like that. And so what's happening is it's degrading, and on the outer portion of the disc, you have a lot of nerves. And so those nerves are actually getting exposed through the degradation of the disc for me. And hence they're starting to come apart. And that's where essentially it's starting to bulge into the spinal canal, not to the degree that it's actually pushing on the nerves of my spine. So I'm not getting any peripheral pain or anything like that, which is amazing. But it's obviously quite painful nonetheless. So the first step is to get the inflammation down. The second step is looking at some regenerative therapies, potentially a treatment called disc seal, where they literally inject the disc, specifically the annular portion that's degrading, with a fibrous solution to almost glue that back together. And then they'll inject the nucleus, the more fluid component, hydrating component, with exosomes, which are the kind of anti-inflammatory portion of stem cells to really facilitate the healing process. So it's a very cool process. And that's part of the world that my wife Christina's in terms of regenerative medicine, and the company that she has created called Matrix Biologics. So I'm very fortunate in that I'm kind of have a front seat to this whole regenerative medicine world. And so fortunately, I'm believed to be working with some of the top doctors in the country, if not in the world, for this type of stuff. So a few lessons that I thought I'd share now that I kind of prefaced everything. And a few lessons here is, one is just that of immense gratitude. Is like, listen, at the end of the day, I am living, I'm breathing, I have a roof over my head. I can stand here at my desk and I can work and I can consult with my clients and I can make money, and I don't have to leave the house. And God forbid, I could even order and have ordered food in. I don't have to be in the car. So it's just like set of circumstances are such that, man, even if I was flat on my back, there's still so many things to be thankful for. And I think that's so important for us, is to just always be leading with sort of a gratitude mindset. Because, and one of the things that one of my mentors, Charles Poliquin, rest in peace, always used to say is, what you appreciate appreciates, right? What you appreciate appreciates. And I'm just so appreciative of everything that I've built, that we've created, that I've been fortunate enough to attract in my life, and also the privileges that I've been brought up with, just the way that it is. And so I'm grateful for all of that. I think that, another lesson for me has really just been that of our ego, and that of me relinquishing my ego and the belief that I feel like I need to have it all together and everything needs to look perfect, and just absolving myself to that of like, listen, I'm just a regular dude, just like you. I'm 46-year-old husband, father of 3. I run a small business, and despite the fact that I do this for a living, like, I obviously still have my struggles and my stressors, and I have way too many things on my plate. I run a business and I'm trying to, do all of the things with the kids and all of the sports and extracurriculars. And oh, by the way, I also teach at Arizona State University, which has been a massive undertaking of me just, becoming adjunct faculty there, which in hindsight, I'm realizing has significantly taken away from my ability to grow my business and maybe even to some degree serve my clients, although I do believe I'm amazing job servicing our clients. But it's like, how many things can I focus on at once? And I just tend to put myself in these positions where I have way too many things at my plate, and it contributes way too much to my stress levels. So it's given me the opportunity to just reflect on all that, because when I was laying in bed, it was like, listen, I legitimately can't do all of these things. And so I have to delegate some things. I got to figure some stuff out. I taught class from here, from my computer, through Zoom. Beautiful that we have that technology to be able to do that. right? And by doing that, I had a number of students that kind of were able, what we realized was there was a really nice mix in between me recording my lessons, them having them to be able to play back versus me just teaching live without the recording. And so it's going to end up valuing them that much more. It values me that much more in that I'm maximizing for my time and their ability to learn, which is great. So I can be a better teacher. And, so again, just kind of learning opportunities. I think additionally is really just reflecting on what I want things to look like for me moving forward. Because there's a lot of stuff that I want to do. And it's really scary for me to think about not being able to do, like, I just have a hard time putting my shoes on right now. And so for me to think about, like, my son's rugby season starts next week. I pride myself on being able to go out and be one of the dad coaches and run around and still show them what's up and run circles around these boys. And I want to be able to do that for a very long time. And the thought of me not being able to do that is really, really scary for me. And so I'll do what I need to do. And I'm not going to put myself in the boat of being dogmatic or polarizing around, oh, that's Western medicine or that's conventional or steroid shots are bad for you, blah, 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 versus I need more alternative medicine. I need to do more stem cells or exosomes. I believe that we can find the right mix in the world, especially in the world that we're living in right now. And I'm going to find the mix that makes the most sense for me. And the fact that I want to run and play rugby with my son. I want to go climb mountains. I want to do really hard things in 2026. And I'm committed to doing those things. And that means I will take as long as I need to kind of rehab back the right way. But I'm moving, starting effective immediately and have been as much as I possibly could throughout this process. And what I think a lesson for, in my experience over the past 20 years, oftentimes we use these circumstances and situations as a reason to not do things that we know we should be doing or an excuse. And I like to frame it differently in that, okay, my back's hurting, but can I still train arms? Can I train calves? Can I train core? Can I work on my diaphragmatic breathing? Can I do more meditation? Like, where are the areas of weakness that this gives me the opportunity to focus on? Obviously, with a low back injury, there's some structural imbalance going on with me. And so my focus right now is creating as much structural balance, as much strength and kind of core integrity, if you will, right now, coupled with just moving as much as I can in the ways that I can. So it's just like I'm walking, I'm hanging from the inversion table, I'm doing a lot of extension exercises, and I'm doing a lot of structural, what I call structural balance, of essentially just core exercises that aren't based on flexion or extension. It's really just like rotational stability, a lot of plank variations, some pressing, overhead pressing, and horizontal pressing exercises while maintaining, structural integrity with my core. So just really working on core strength through different planes of motion in almost like an isometric position. And that's how I'm going to kind of progress back, as I've got a amazing doctor of physical therapy coach who's writing my programming in conjunction with the fact that I'm going to be getting some soft tissue work from one of my local really progressive chiropractor guys, probably some dry needling as well to help the muscles around the lumbar vertebrae just relax a little bit and get some more blood flow and get less tonic and less tense. And then, of course, looking at some of the allopathic treatment coupled with some of the regenerative medicine treatments, which I think is going to be really, really cool. And so it's shifted my thinking around kind of the way that I envision myself utilizing strength training. I will always strength train, but I think this is going to make me think twice around the types of exercises that I'm doing in the gym. I haven't been back squatting much for the past couple years. I don't envision myself back squatting again anytime soon, if ever. Similar to deadlifts as well. If I do deadlifts, and this is much of what I've done the last probably year or so as well, just because of my back, but mostly trap bar deadlifts. I'd be very cautious and questionable about Romanian deadlifts, good mornings, anything that's putting a whole heck of a lot of stress on the lumbar vertebrae. And it's not that there's anything wrong with it per se. It's just like for my body, for my age, for the trauma that I've been through and my low back's been through, those are the considerations that we have to make. My point in all of this is saying injuries are always opportunities. Anytime we have setbacks, I think we need to frame it as an opportunity. I say this from obviously just a physical malady standpoint, but it's like, listen, I've got elbow tendonitis. Great, go train legs. I hurt my ankle. Okay, go train upper body. Like there's no reason you can't keep moving, and you have to keep moving, and that's kind of my mentality around this stuff. So not to use these types of things as excuses, but just to pivot and is all. And we're just going to always be going through things that are going to be perpetual and prospective challenges, and we just have to learn how to pivot. And those are the conversations that we have with clients around all of this stuff, around training, around injuries, around social support or lack thereof, around travel, around situations where you don't have control around your food. It's like you've got to have a mindset of someone who's in control. You're an adult. You can make decisions that are right for you, and you can pivot. And that's the freedom that we have, we should be able to have, and that you should be justified in having, and not crying into your pillow that your back is hurt and woe's me, I can't do anything. Like, I'd be lying if I wasn't for a minute there, but this is just part of being human. And so, it's forced me to find some clarity in a number of different ways, and really try and align my choices with my values to determine what the path forward looks like. And so I wanted to be able to share that with you. I hope you can take and glean maybe a little bit of this, be able to apply it to yourself of any areas of your life that you feel like you might need a little kick in the pants. You might need to be able to stop making excuses around, or you might just feel like you need a little bit of support from someone who empathizes. I think we need to have more people in our lives and surround ourselves with more people in our lives who can sympathize and empathize with what we're going through. And as someone who candidly doesn't want help from anyone for anything, and I swear, this has been like, my wife loves the fact that I've been injured for the past week, because she's had like, she's had to help me, and she loves it. Like, I never let her cook for me. I never let her do anything for me. I don't know what my problem is, but she's had the opportunity to do that now, and I'm telling you, she's just thrilled. She came to the doctor appointment with me this morning, and we were talking to the doc about it, and she was just like, we were joking, because she's like, yeah, and I put his shoes on, and like, I helped him get out of bed, and I made him food, and she went to the store and got me this amazing like kind of painkiller tea that we found at this kava bar that's down the street from my house. Maybe I'll share another episode about that, but that was wild in and of itself. What I was saying was, it's okay to ask for help. I didn't like sharing that I was in pain. It made me feel like I was being vulnerable. It made me feel like people were going to judge me for not being who perhaps they thought I was, or who I see myself as being. And that feels almost fraudulent. But it's also acknowledging that by sharing this, I think that there's other people that can benefit. And hopefully that's you, that you can benefit by being vulnerable. And I'm not saying cry about it. Like, I'm not crying about it. I'm simply acknowledging, it's like, man, it sucked. And I can resonate with you if you've been in this situation before. And now you can, sympathize with me and empathize with me. And we're here to support each other because we're a community, and we need more people like that in our lives. And because I shared it, I was so grateful for all of the people that reached out and expressed concern and offered to help and offered to bring over food and offered to drive the kids around. And while, again, I don't ever want help from anyone, it was nice to be able to have that option. And I'm very, very grateful for that. I'm grateful for the amazing clients that I have, for the amazing people that we have in our community. And if you're one of those who's listening, I'm so appreciative of having you. If you're someone who's not in our community yet and you want to be in our community, I would love to have a conversation to see if and how we might be able to support you and welcome you in and be able to share all of these wonderful resources that we have around nutrition and fitness and our amazing practitioner network and the advanced blood work optimization system that we have in place, and direct access to all of these world-class practitioners, and the list goes on and on. And so if that's you, you're resonating with what I'm talking about, and you want to have a further conversation, by all means, just message me. You can find the link to my nutrition strategy call at the link down in the show notes, or you're always welcome to just email me, ben@bodysystems.com. I appreciate you guys listening. I'll look forward to keeping you updated on the journey ahead.